So Sri Lanka in complete chaos today. Dramatic scenes of the Prime Minister's office being taken over, and a state of emergency has been declared. Lankan army saying it wants a political resolution to the crisis in the island country. Those images that are coming in are from earlier this evening in Colombo. An all-party meeting, meanwhile, is being held this evening, even as Mr. Rajapaksa has flown to Malé from Singapore. I'm joined by our correspondent Pramod Malé. He's on ground zero. Pramod, it's been a dramatic day for you, and I know it can't be easy for you at the moment tracking this story in all its dimensions as things have developed so fast. But as Pramod Madhav is there in Colombo at the moment with news fast developing, an all-party meeting being held at the moment to try and find a political solution to the crisis in Sri Lanka. Pramod, give us a sense at the moment on ground zero. What are you picking up? What is the situation now? Have the protesters who were all day at the Prime Minister's office, have they left? And has some element of normalcy been restored? Okay, let's try and go. We'll go to Pramod in a moment, but let's first play out all that happened today in Sri Lanka, because massive protests have erupted in the country after President Gotabaya Rajapaksa resigned and fled to the Maldives with his family. Thousands of protesters took to the streets of Colombo demanding that Rajapaksa must go, and so must the man who's been appointed as acting president, Ranil Wickremesinghe. A state of emergency has been declared amidst the nationwide uproar. Our correspondents Ashutosh and Pramod Madhav bring you this report from Ground Zero.
The People's Revolution in Sri Lanka is far from over. The scenes from Colombo indicate the island nation is staring at a prolonged face-off between the ordinary citizens and the ruling elite. Sometime early morning on Wednesday, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, whose family ruled Sri Lanka with total authority for years, fled in an Air Force plane to the Maldives, where he is cooped up in a luxury resort. He released a letter appointing Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe as the acting president. An official resignation is expected once he reaches the safe shores of possibly UAE or Singapore.
ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ 37 එක වගන්තියේ යටතේ අතිගරු ජනාධිපති ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහතා දිවයිනෙන් බැහැරව සිටින බැවින් එම ධූරයේ කටයුතු රාජකාරී ආවරණය කිරීම සඳහා අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා පත් කළ බව මට දන්වා සිටියා.
People are angry, and it showed on the streets. Even as helicopters of the defense forces hovered in the skies, thousands marched to the Prime Minister's office. Security forces on ground fired tear gas shells.
We're currently outside the Prime Minister's office, and currently what is happening here is that Jasmine had shelled and public which anti-police are now running away. They are the crowds who are dispersing and running away from the Prime Minister's residence. Earlier they came over here demanding that Ranil Wickremesinghe should not be made the actual next president. Over here you could see as we speak, police is using tear gas.
The crackdown, however, had no impact on protesters. In a matter of hours, they took over the Prime Minister's office, just like they stormed the President's palace and the Prime Minister's official residence 5 days ago. The Rupavahini State Media Centre also fell. The official channel went off air shortly after protesters made an address.
ජනාධිපති මන්දිරේ, අරලියගහ මන්දිරේ, ජනාධිපති ලේකම් කාර්යාලය, ජනතා සතු කරගෙන අවසන්. ඉතින් අපි රූපවාහිනියකට ආවේ එක දෙයක් කියලා.
The demand of protesters is simple. Both Rajapaksa and Wickremesinghe have to go. No ifs and buts.
Prime Minister and the President, they were conspiring against the people, and they promised to, especially the President, promised to resign on 13th of July. But he didn't do that.
Okay.
A cornered Wickremesinghe has declared an indefinite emergency in the country. Lawmakers are scheduled to elect the new president on July 20th. An all-party government is expected to be formed right after that. The trouble is that people don't seem to be ready to wait that long. After suffering the country's worst spell of food and fuel shortages, they want change right now. With Pramod Madhav and Ashutosh in Colombo, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's try and now establish contact with Pramod Madhav. He is in Colombo. Pramod, those are the pictures from earlier this day. Crowds swirling around and taking over the Prime Minister's office. Can you tell us what the situation is like at the moment? Have the crowds dispersed? Has the army taken over?
Definitely, Rajdeep, the crowd has not completely dispersed. In fact, this is the inside the Prime Minister's office, and I'm going to start with the picture of Buddha over here. And once I swirl, you could see the place has completely become empty. Protesters are at convenient locations, and the armed forces are also everywhere at this spot. But however, just like with the President's Palace, the President's Secretariat, the Prime Minister's residence now, after Ranil Wickremesinghe did not resign from being the Prime Minister, but has become the acting President, protesters have demanded his resignation, and they are staying inside this place itself. They are not budging, and this happened after 4 years, 4 months of, after 4 hours of struggle and several tear gas shells being used against them. Even after that, protesters have said that they will not leave. So this place, the office space of the Prime Minister's office, is completely under the control of the protesters who are present everywhere at this spot, and they are also claiming that until they get what they want, they will not resign. So, I have one of the protesters with me here also. Brother, you inside this place, and you also protested with others over here. So, what have you decided? Why are you still occupied this building? Tell me. Why are you still here? You don't want to leave the place? Well, they're just simply laughing, but they have made their mind very clear that they will not leave the place until they get a solution. And for them, the first solution is that the Prime Minister, acting President, and the President must resign. So this is the first and foremost demand they have kept. And after several people were inside, right now many have left, but at key positions there are protesters, just like how they were inside the President's Palace, President's Secretariat, Prime Minister's house, and currently at this location as well, Rajdeep.
This is unprecedented, those scenes that we are seeing. The Prime Minister's residence or the Prime Minister's office has been taken over by the protesters. They are still there, despite the fact that, as we said, a curfew has been declared. You can see that this is unprecedented in the history of the subcontinent. You would suggest that ordinary citizens come into the Prime Minister's office, take it over, and really the army, it appears as of now, seems powerless to really control what's happening there on the ground. Pramod Madhav there joining us with that report from inside the Prime Minister's office in Colombo. Images of citizens just walking around and having taken over the Prime Minister's office. Now, all eyes in a way are also on Sri Lanka's main opposition leader, Sajith Premadasa. He spoke earlier today to our Diplomatic Affairs Editor, Geeta Mohan, and says he is ready to lead an all-party interim government and run for Sri Lanka's presidency as well. Listen in at the moment.
This is an India Today exclusive. Even as the country of Sri Lanka is on the brink of collapse, and people are in the streets of Colombo seeking justice and answers as to why the financial crisis and why are they suffering in the manner in which they are. I'm being joined by opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, who is also heading the JVB alliance. He's pitched in to become the next president of Sri Lanka, and we'll have to wait and see what comes about with regards to this new entrant in the race. Many thanks for joining us here on India Today, sir.
Thank you. You're too kind.
My first question to you is, what's the way forward? There have been no resignations or signs of resignation, but what's the procedure? Will the Speaker take over or the Prime Minister? And on 20th of July, when there is voting, what will your stand really be? Are you now pitching to be the new president of Sri Lanka?
Well, right now in Sri Lanka, you have extreme and absolute political gridlock. The request of the majority of the country is for both the president and the prime minister to resign, and for a new all-party government to be set up on an interim basis. Constitutionally, when both the president and the prime minister resigns, it is the speaker who becomes the acting president. So there is constitutional provision for both those people to resign and for the country to go ahead with the constitutional processes which will ultimately decide the destiny of the country. What is actually happening right now is, as far as we know, right at this very moment, the president says he's resigning, but he hasn't done so, and he has gone abroad. The prime minister is claiming to be the acting president on the basis of a statement made by the speaker. I, for myself, have not seen a written letter so far at this very moment where the president has appointed the prime minister as the acting president. So what you have right now is a virtual anarchy, an anarchical society in Sri Lanka. Anarchy is reigning. So in this particular situation, what is most important is for constitutionality to be implemented. The constitutional procedures, provisions should be enacted. But what we see is a group of politicians using various arbitrary methodologies for their own political survival.
You speak of anarchy, Mr. Premadasa, and we see the trust deficit among the people. With that, do you think you can manage the numbers when voting really takes place? Because you are now in minority, you are in the opposition, but also you do not have the numbers when it comes to votes.
The present parliamentary composition is a reflection of the people's opinions in August 2020, when the general elections were held. The executive president today reflects the opinion in 2019 November. So right now, the executive president and the parliament, both these institutions do not reflect the views of the people, the opinions and the aspirations of the people. This is where the dysfunctionalism emanates from. This is where the problem is.
So there is the opposition calling for both the president and the prime minister to go. So Gota goes, is Wickramasinghe next? What is the way out for Sri Lanka from what we are seeing on the streets at the moment? Is this revolution or anarchy in Sri Lanka? Joining me now, two very special guests. Jayan Pereira is Executive Director, National Peace Council of Sri Lanka and Colombo. And N.K. Ashok Baran is a lawyer in Colombo who's come out very strongly on some issues I see on Twitter. I appreciate both of you joining us. First to you, Jayan Pereira. Your sense of what we are seeing, is this anarchy on the streets, or is this a revolution that Sri Lanka has been waiting for to get rid of certain political elites?
Well, it has led to the overthrow of the president. President's house is occupied, prime minister's house is occupied, and president has left the country. In a way, it is a overthrow of the government through peaceful means. In that sense, it's revolution. Anarchy, it's limited at the moment. I mean, the protesters have taken control of a few state buildings, some key state buildings, the Prime Minister's office, the President's office, and the state television. But I wouldn't say it is anarchy at the end, but it could grow into that if the political elite does not behave responsibly. And what people have been asking, what people, and it's just not these protesters only, actually it's a countrywide demand, because it's not young people, it's not leftists who are in the protest movement. When the protest movement gets underway, middle class people, large numbers, young, old, from all parts of the country participate in the protest. What they are asking for is that the Rajapaksas, the leadership of this government, should go because they have let down the country. People feel they have let it down very badly. They were voted in 3 years ago with a big majority, with great expectations of economic development, of national security, all of that, and where they themselves created the fear of national security of the ethnic minorities. They actually used a very nationalist Sinhalese platform to come to power, but they have not delivered. Now, people feel that they have bankrupted the country, that they have actually stolen this money. They want them to go. And where Wickramasinghe comes in is that they feel that when the president was about to resign, Wickramasinghe, with one seat in parliament, was appointed by the president to safeguard the Rajapaksas. He has no democratic mandate. He's one seat in parliament. So, I mean, now he's our president, a man with one seat in parliament. So it's not democratic. And so people they're continuing the protest. And that's why they want both president and acting president, both to go.
You know, you're saying they want both to go. I just want to understand you from you, Ashok Baran, because in some of your tweets that you put out, you believe this is a leaderless mob at times, which is going out of control. And you seem to suggest that your fear is that groups could take over who are violently radical. Is that your fear at the moment?
Very well, yes, Rajdeep, because the difficulty, what we have to understand is, this started off as a peaceful protest. It went on for over 80 days as peaceful protest, people going, standing out, camping outside the presidential secretariat, asking Gotabaya Rajapaksa to go. That is what this protest was all about. But today we are seeing a turn of events. Even earlier, we saw the houses being burned. Today we are seeing marching into government institutions and buildings and causing damage to public property. Now, even now at this moment, as I'm speaking to you, there are people surrounding the parliament. There is serious voices from protesters themselves. I can see on the social media space, protesters who peacefully started this protest now isolating themselves from the so-called protesters. They are saying this is not what we intended when we started the peaceful protest. So we can see there are certain elements, and we saw what happened in the national television channel. The television channel had to be blacked out for a while because these are dangerous elements, and this is not the first time.
Now, who are these elements?
Dangerous anti-democratic elements have done this to this country. Between anyone who knows the history of Sri Lanka knows what happened between 1988 and 1990. So these people, although I call them anti-democratic because they are to the far left. Their leftist ideology is absolutely against democratic institutions and democratic constitution. You can see the Bar Association of Sri Lanka has backed the peaceful process for months. And you can see the statement of the Bar Association released yesterday and today. The Bar Association is pleading to uphold the constitution and protect the rule of law. Now that is very important. Whatever the solution we have to find within the constitution, within the democratic framework. We cannot surrender this country to the people who want to dismantle democratic institutions. That would be dangerous. That would lead to anarchy.
You know, that's a very strong statement you're making. You're worried that these elements are pushing Sri Lanka towards anarchy. They are leftist elements. You're saying that it's a leftist revolution. You want to respond to that, Mr. Pereira? Do you believe it's as dangerous as that? Or is the mob, in a way, only reflecting the anger on the street and eventually a political solution will be found?
Yeah, I mean, there's truth in what was said, that there are leftists involved and that there are elements that are violent. But up to now, there have been so many weeks of protests, and the recent ones have escalated in intensity, but no one has died yet. And that's a testament to the restraint of the government and the military also, but also to the protesters. See, among the protesters are very multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and multi-political group. There are leftists there. Leftists form a very key they, in a way, they are the most committed. They are the ones who have stayed the course, whereas the others tend to come and go. But that the large majority of those who are involved in the protests, the tens of thousands, are not leftists. They are regular citizens, middle-class people,
Who's
men
leading
and
them?
women, children.
Who's leading them?
So, in a way, it is leaderless. That is what it's a consensus among the people that this government, which has let down the people so badly, that there is no food in the country. There's shortage of food. There are no dollars to buy petrol. There are 6 kilometer long lines outside petrol stations. People spending 2-3 days overnight in their cars waiting for petrol. Such a desperate situation. How did this come about? In any other country, any democratic country, the leadership would go. They would resign. They resign if a train gets derailed and 50 people die.
But they've gone, Mr. Pereira. The Rajapakshas have fled the country. Mr. Wickremesinghe says he's going to give up power next week. Is it that people have no faith in them? They want to see the political change before they leave the streets?
I think you got it right. I mean, there is no trust at the moment. This is the great sadness in our country, that we have lost confidence in our political leaders. Now the president, he has gone abroad. He said he will resign on the 13th, but he has not resigned on the 13th. He said we heard that he had given a letter of resignation. Now we find that it is not a letter of resignation. So then we find the prime minister saying he is the acting president, and then the speaker saying no, he's not, and then he's the acting president. They declare a curfew. They don't declare a curfew. I really don't know what's going on in the country.
You're saying there's a lack of faith. Ashok Baran, is that part of the problem? People have lost faith in the political class. Therefore, this is the expression of the anger of the people. What you're saying are dangerous anarchic elements, are just public anger.
Well, Rajdeep, I have to agree, there is public anger. But public anger in Sri Lanka is not towards destroying the democracy and democratic institutions of Sri Lanka and going for extra constitutional matters. What is happening here is some elements are taking advantage of these people's anger. Now, this is what people have to be aware of. This is not just me saying. You can go online, you can see people who started these peaceful protests now isolating themselves. People are calling to stay away from violence. People are saying we do not want, now people are surrounding the parliament, and we can see calls in social media and public platforms not to break into the parliament, not to destroy the democratic institutions. So you can see who is leading this. Now, this is a bunch of our citizens. I mean, every issue Mr. Pereira highlighted is correct. We have been, including we have been voicing against this. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka has filed a case asking the Supreme Court to intervene and streamline the matters. So all of these are happening. But today we can see that this anger is being used by these anti-democratic elements to attain what they couldn't attain democratically. So they want to destroy the very democratic fabric of Sri Lanka.
No, you're telling me they want to take over. No, you're telling me these elements want to take over.
Yes.
Who's leading them? Who's leading them then? It's a leaderless group at the moment.
No, that is the point. So there are several leaders, several people are coming on behalf of the protesters and making statements. We are seeing that. The media is reporting. So when the movement is leaderless, now we see leaders popping up and claiming on behalf of the protesters. They are making demands to political parties. And they are saying they must be included in decision making. Why? Sri Lanka has a democratic system, a constitution. Of course, as the opposition leaders clearly said, there is a gridlock situation.
Right.
But that gridlock situation can be constitutionally resolved.
Let me leave it there.
That is the way. That is the political way.
You're saying in the end, the political solution is the only way out. This battle cannot be fought on the streets beyond a point. The anger has been expressed. Eventually, the constitution of Sri Lanka must prevail. Eventually, possibly, we will have an all-party government sooner rather than later till the next elections are held. But for now, to have two fine voices coming in there from Colombo to give us a sense of what's happening in your wonderful country. I hope peace returns sooner rather than later. Thanks very much, Mr. Pereira. And my other guest, Ashok Baran, there from Colombo. Thank you both very much for joining me here on my top focus on Sri Lanka. We'll continue to track that story, but we want to track another story, because this story should concern anyone who has a child or who has been in college or is about to go to college. Because confusion reigns at the moment over the common university entrance test for which applications began yesterday. It's the first of its kind common test that will decide admission to nearly 90 central universities across the country. The admissions will start, or the examinations start, on July 15, 2 days from now. Parents and students, though, are concerned that the format of the exam, that is spread over one whole month, will only add to stress and confusion. It's our other big story tonight.
Over 14 lakh candidates, more than 54,000 subject combinations. The National Testing Agency is set to hold the Common University Entrance Test for undergraduate courses. The test, which will be the basis for admissions to nearly 90 universities across India, will be held at 500 exam centres. It is being held in two phases between July 15th and August 20th. The new entrance test was conceived by the UGC with the main objective of levelling the playing field for students from different boards. But the bold new experiment is causing much heartburn in the first year. Students and parents are listing many concerns. They say exams are held over a long period of time, which delays admissions further. The format of unique date sheets for each candidate means some students get more time to prepare than the others. There are also concerns about the late release of admit cards, which came on Tuesday night for the test that begins Friday.
मेरा 15 तारीख को पेपर है, वो मेरे सारे एक ही दिन है। मेरी टाइमिंग 1 बजे से स्टार्ट है और 6:45 तक है। मेरी फ्रेंड्स वगैरह के 3 अगस्त को हैं और मेरे 15 को हैं, तो मुझे ये लग रहा है कि उनको आसानी हो जाएगी। वो मेरे से ये पूछ लेंगे कि आपका कैसा पेपर है।
परसों हमें डेट पता चली कि हमारी 15 अगस्त से शुरू हो रहे हैं और आपने हमें सिर्फ 2 दिन पहले बताया, तो एक एंजाइटी की बात होती है। माना हमें 26 से पता था कि हमारे हफ्ते भर में मतलब 15 के आसपास होंगे, लेकिन अगर 2 दिन पहले पता चलता है कि पेपर परसों है, तो हमें थोड़ी एंजाइटी और स्ट्रेस फील होती है।
सिलेबस बहुत ज़्यादा दिया है, टर्म 1 टर्म 2 पूरा आ रहा है, और या कुछ सब्जेक्ट्स में 11th का भी पोर्शन इंक्लूडेड है, और तो और जनरल टेस्ट भी है जिसमें डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ लैंग्वेजेस है। तो उस लिए अगर टाइम इतना कम दिया है तो उस हिसाब से उनको थोड़ा सिलेबस रिड्यूस करना चाहिए था।
The UGC says these are just teething problems.
The reason why we are issuing the admit cards just only 4 days before the phase 1 and phase 2 is to ensure that there is good security in the entire process of conducting this computer based examination, and this is a common practice in all the examinations that NTA conducts.
While the common entrance aims to provide a level playing field, critics say it will lead to new problems. 1. The test is based on NCERT syllabus, so it puts state board students at a disadvantage. 2. It gives a boost to coaching industry, which could lead to inequality in education. Is common entrance test the best way to ensure fairness in higher education? The jury is still out. With Kumar Kunal, Bureau Report, India Today.
The major reform in India's examination or admission structure, has the common entrance exam been hit by chaos? Will the common university entrance test provide really a level playing field to all students getting into universities, or is it a boost for the coaching industry? Will the CUET lead to inequality, and is it really a level playing field? Joining me now first is Professor M. Jagdish Kumar, Chairman of the University Grants Commission. Appreciate your joining us, Professor Kumar. You're seeing students there complaining, sir, that some students are hardly getting 3 to 4 days to prepare for the same subjects that other students will get 23 to 30 days. Isn't that prima facie unfair and unequal way of conducting an exam a recipe, sir, for chaos?
Rajdeep, certainly I wouldn't use words like chaos unfair, because this is the time when the students are preparing for an important event in their life. They are going to write the common university entrance test. I think as teachers, as parents, as media persons, we should allay their fears. If there is anxiety, if there are questions in their minds, we need to clear them.
No, so please clear these questions. Our students are saying that the same set of subjects, they will have 4 days to do it and others have 23 days. That does, that, as I said, prima facie seems unfair.
Rajdeep, you know, there are major entrance tests in our country, such as JEE and NEET. There also large number of students participate. But in NEET, for example, there are only 3 subjects that the students write, physics, chemistry, and biology. In JEE, only maths, physics, and chemistry. But if you look at CUET, there are 27 domain subjects, and the students can write 2 language papers and a general test. So if you look at our higher education, there are nearly 4 crore students, and out of that, 70% of the students, they study BA, BSc, and BCom. Only 30% of the students are in engineering, medicine, law, agriculture, and other disciplines. So therefore, the diversity of the students, the diversity of subjects is very large in CUET. And that's the reason why we need to spread out this examination over a period of a few days in phase 1 and another few days in phase 2. And as far as the unfairness that you are referring to, because some students have the exams earlier and some students have later, there is no need for worrying about this, because when the evaluation is done, when the percentiles are calculated, they will be calculated for each batch of students who are writing on a particular day in a particular subject. Therefore, there is no cause for concern here.
There are those who are saying, though, that more than knowledge of subjects, this is going to be a test of stamina, ability to stay at high focus levels for a few hours. Within the space of 3 or 4 hours, they'll have half a dozen subject multiple choice questions. Yes, but that's a lot of pressure. You've already finished your 12th standard exam, and now you're putting more pressure on the students.
This is where, Rajdeep, we need to tell our students that for CUET, only the 12th standard syllabus will be used for setting the question papers. And the students have just finished their board examinations, and whatever they have studied, it is fresh in their minds. I would like to add a couple of things here, because some of the students have expressed their concern about, for example, if there are rains and floods, what will happen to us? Will exams take place? I would like to assure the students that if such a thing happens, if the district administration confirms that the exams could not be held because of these reasons, we will reschedule the examinations for such students. And there are also questions about,
Sir, just a minute. Yeah. The problem that is, from what you're saying, it seems to me that you have ended the significance of class 12 exams. For me, for people like us who went through school, 12th standard exams were important, what marks you got. Now, that doesn't seem to matter if you have to get into a college of your choice. You will only allow the coaching institutes to thrive once again. Now there will be coaching institutes for the CUET exam. I'm just trying to understand what sense this makes. You seem to believe that the present system has broken down and therefore you need to fix it. Is that the reason why you've decided to go with the CUET?
No, I have never said the present system has broken down. All that I am saying is, earlier we were using skyrocketing board scores, 99% and 100% for university admissions. But now all that is past. Even if the students get less percentage, or if there are variations, whether the student gets 80% or 85%, that's not going to affect their admission process. And also, Rajdeep, let me tell you that if you look at the board performance of the students who join in IITs, for example, almost every student, more than 99% of the students, they get above 75% in their board exams. That shows clearly that our students are not neglecting their board studies just because there is an entrance examination. And why single out CUET? We do have multiple entrance examinations in our country. We have JEE, we have NEET, And the kind of coaching that you are saying, that has been there for a long time in our country. Just don't blame only CUET for the coaching industry.
Before I widen this, I will ask you one last question before you leave us. That are you telling me that if I appear in the phase in July, my marks will be different to those who appear in August and get more days to prepare? Are you saying that allowance will be made for the fact that I have had only 4 days versus 30 days? Yes or no?
You see, what we are going to do is calculate the percentile for each set of students. Therefore, whether you are writing now or later, it should not really matter. And looking at the number of subjects and the number of choices that we have given to the students, it is necessary to spread the exam over a period of a few days in phase 1 and also a few days in phase 2.
Okay. Let me leave it there, Professor Kumar. You've tried to answer most of the concerns, and I'm glad that you've come and done that, because at the moment a number of students are very anxious. But thank you very much for joining me here at the moment. Now, that was the UGC chairperson. Let me widen this, because Professor Dinesh Singh, former Delhi University Vice Chancellor and Chancellor at the K.R. Mangalam University, is joining me. Dr. Usha Ram, educationist, and Professor Anil Kumar, Professor Department of Commerce, Sri Ram College of Commerce. Dr. Usha Ram has also been involved with CBSE exams. You might have all heard what the UGC chairperson said. Professor Dinesh Singh, you first. Are you satisfied? Do you believe that this country needs now another exam for students to improve the quality of admission processes for colleges, or are we creating more chaos and more confusion?
Rajdeep, I paid attention to what Professor Kumar had to say. And in all honesty, he's trying to do a good job. And it's not easy. So I can understand his difficulties. But, there are larger issues at stake here, which I think we must take into account. I don't think India has a very good track record when it comes to any kind of examination, let alone entrance exams. And in the entrance exam arena, we've done rather poorly. Look at the IIT entrance exams. I have been sort of witness to how they have degenerated, and I use the word consciously. It's a degenerate species of entrance examination. What have they done? They started out with good intentions, where we want to pick out good students, etc. Nobody ever thought that why can't you pick good students by ensuring that the state boards, the CBSE, the ICSE conduct their exams in a good way, an enlightened way. And you could say, okay, one board is very liberal with its marks. Well, do something about it. Make sure that you normalize the process. There were so many other ways.
So you're saying it would have been better to fix the existing system rather than creating a fresh problem. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely, Rajdeep. The IIT entrance exams were, to my mind, they were unnecessary. They should have relied on the state boards with minor, adjustments here and there. They could have done a good job, because they have degenerated like anything.
Okay.
And we haven't been able to put a stop to that. So what assures me now that the CUET will not degenerate? That's my worry. I must admit that it is well-intentioned. It's part of the national education policy. But in the entire policy, this is the one part that raises some concerns.
Let me get you in, Professor Usha Ram. I want to understand, Dr. Usha Ram, I want to understand from you, are we suggesting that the existing CBSE system in this country has broken down? That some states are liberal with their marks, give you 99 out of 100, you get 100 out of 100. Other states are tougher, and therefore you needed a common entrance exam to get people into central universities.
This was, Rajdeep ji, this was basically to see that all the students get a chance for admissions. I won't say that some states they were giving more marks and some states they were getting less marks. I'm not talking about that at all. Marks were there, more or less, sometimes more, sometimes less. But then the other children were not getting a chance. Now everybody will get a chance. Let them all appear, because only 12th standard syllabus. It's not more than that. Of course, something which is started.
But another exam.
There are certain
you're saying, ma'am, sorry to intervene. You're saying let them all appear again. So I've just finished my 12th standard exam.
It is just multiple questions. They already know.
Okay.
See, they already know it's only 12th standard, whatever they have done, it's multiple choice question and it is for the benefit of the students. Let's look at it from their angle. See, the maximum benefit will come to the students. See, so much of work has gone into NTAs working so hard, so many papers have been prepared, so much of work has gone into it, so much of labor has been done. For what reason? It's only for the students' sake.
Okay.
That all the children should get a chance to appear for their, for the university.
You're saying that
Let them appear for this kind of exams.
You're saying it creates equal opportunity for students. Professor Anil Kumar, you're at the Department of Commerce, Sri Ram College of Commerce, a college that everyone who wants to do commerce chooses often as their first choice, and many of them get 99.9 or even 100%. Do you believe this is a better system to decide who gets into elite colleges?
Certainly, 100%. I am in the agreement that this system is far, far better because in the previous system, which we have been adopted so far, the students coming with 100% marks and getting 100% marks in almost all the subjects. The big question which we used to ask was that is these marks reflective of the genuine abilities of the students? We found that there had been wide variation in the evaluation standards of the board and the curriculum standards of the board. And we should not forget that it's a federal structure. We have to take all the boards into consideration when it's a question of admission.
But Professor Kumar, you answer Professor Kumar, you answer this for me. If there is a student today who's got his form and has to do an exam in 4 days, and another student has to do his exam in August, the student who has to do it in August has more time to prepare, yes or no?
No, I do not agree with this because it is not the rote learning kind of exam. This exam is going to be based on the basic concepts which the student has learned throughout the year. Whether the student appeared today or after 10 days, it hardly makes any difference. And as has been clarified by the UGC chairman himself, that there is going to be, the kind of parity between the days also. But even I don't think that that's not needed. It's not the test of rote learning. I'm again repeating.
Okay, so you're saying
test of the basic learning and the concept.
Okay, so in a way, there is an admission in what you're saying that the existing system has been based on rote learning and the government wants to move beyond that. Dinesh Kumarji, as a final word, do you agree with that? That maybe, therefore, you needed the change? Or are you saying that the change could have been done by in a way without having an entirely new exam that could lead to another coaching industry flourishing?
The features that are being put into this exam, what prevents us from putting those features into the CBSE and other board exams? That's my point, Rajdeep. We need to mull this. I'm not running this down. It is the idea behind it is well-intentioned, but there are many issues that are of concern here. That's my thing.
No, but then let's abolish, why don't we just abolish the 12th standard exam? Why put so much of focus on 12th standard exam? If after 12th I want to go to IIT.
That's a good question.
Dr. Ram, you're laughing. You don't agree? Let's get away. If we think that the 12th standard exam leads to rote learning, let's forget that and
let's understand. No.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree with this.
It's not like that.
Yes.
See, for 12th standard, for 12th standard, we have the testing modules and we test different subjects. But when we are talking about CTUT, we are just talking about the multiple choice questions so that all the children get the same type of, they can show their abilities. Sometimes they are not able to show in CBSE examination. Some children get 100 out of 100, others don't get it.
But I may get 100 out of 100 in, ma'am. I may get 100 out of 100. No, just a minute, ma'am. I may get 100 out of 100 in CBSE and then comes along this exam where I do badly. What does that mean?
So you have to go by this only. You cannot go by CBSE because this is another one that we are testing now. So we have to look into this.
Okay, Professor Kumar, you wanted to make a point. You
but anyway, that will not happen,
I would say that
it will not,
what you mean to say
happen.
Okay, you are saying it won't happen. Let
11th class marks, that means are redundant. There is no use of that 11th class marks even. I do not agree with this, in fact. The learning has taken place in the school. There is examination. You imagine the kind of stress which the students were undergoing, that it's a board examination. It was a kind of a hawa before them,
Okay.
Getting 95 plus marks and having no admission anywhere in tier 1 cities. What's the fate of those students? You are just judging that whether you have been able to write. I'll tell you the pattern which used to be followed. That in one question, write any 5 points. If a student has written 5 marks, 100% marks are given. Is this a learning? So this kind of examination will take care of this, it has to be beyond rote learning. The fundamentals should be clear, and this has also been envisaged by the National Education Policy 2020. So I believe that it is in the right spirit that this kind of examination has been introduced. It has been long felt by us and by so many academicians all over the country.
Let me leave it there. At the end of the day, this is the first year, first show, and therefore we will see how it plays out. I'm only glad that I'm not a student anymore. So many exams, each one has to be cleared with fine marks. But I appreciate Professor Dinesh Singh, Professor Anil Kumar, Dr. Usha Ram joining me on our big talking point.
But Rajdeep, one word, you are free from the stress of board examination now. And you will be a student.
No, I'm free from the stress of examinations. Thank you all very much, though, for joining us. Maybe the stress is just doing a show every night. That's another stress we'll talk about on another day. Thank you all very much for joining me on the show tonight. Let's turn to the other big story. Heavy rains continue to wreak havoc across western and southern India at the moment. Gujarat, for the 5th consecutive day, the Narmada district, popular banana farms here have been destroyed due to the flooding. Farmers appealing to the government to compensate them for the losses suffered. This is an election year in Gujarat. Saurabh Bakhtania has tonight's ground report from flooded Gujarat.
Bridges destroyed, rivers in spate, houses submerged, schools underwater. Many parts of Gujarat are facing floods. The Karjan River is overflowing. 9 shutters of its dam were opened and over 2 lakh cusecs of water was released, flooding many parts of Narmada district. Banana farmers in the region are the worst hit.
Over 2 lakh cusecs of water was removed from that particular dam after all the 9 gates were opened, and all the water was flown into the entire banana farming land. Here in the visuals you can see that complete farming land of this particular banana farming is submerged into water, because of which the farmers over here have faced heavy losses.
Farmers' efforts to save their crops have gone in vain.
ऐसा ही नुकसान होता रहता है, पता नहीं अचानक पानी कहाँ से छोड़ देते हैं वो लोग। केल की खेती में इतनी मेहनत लगती है, इतना खर्चा होता है, खातर का भाव और मजदूरी का भाव इतना ज़्यादा लगता है, फिर भी किसान केल का पेड़ खड़े करता है और लास्ट में जब कटिंग उसका हार्वेस्ट आता है तब ऐसा हर साल 5 साल से ऐसा नुकसान हो रहा है।
2 साल से किसान को बहुत खोट जाती है क्योंकि कोरोना की वजह से अच्छे रेट नहीं मिल रहे थे। इस साल थोड़ा अच्छा रेट है, किसानों को अच्छी आशा थी। विदेश में भी यहाँ का केला जाता है, एक्सपोर्ट होता है यहाँ का केला, बहुत ही अच्छा रेट मिलने वाला, किसानों को आशा थी, लेकिन क्या करे अचानक ये बाढ़ आ गई है, पूरा बहुत नुकसान है।
Farmers of Gujarat are now appealing to the government to compensate them for the losses suffered. With Saurabh Bakhtania in Narmada, Bureau Report, India Today.
Banana plantations being destroyed in the floods. Let's take a break on the show. On the other side, we'll have our good news today story. Today, it comes from Bundelkhand. All that and more in a moment. You're watching the news today. News without the noise.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com or call 9999892171. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
You are watching India Today.
Welcome back. Let's turn to tonight's Good News Today story. It comes from Bundelkhand's Lalitpur, where a class 10 student, Nandini Kushwaha, wants to make an application for an app for soil identification. She wants to help farmers to learn about soil testing to grow healthy crops. Here's a report from Bundelkhand.
A 14-year-old class 10 student has conceived the idea of an app for soil identification. Nandini Kushwaha from Lalitpur in Bundelkhand wants the app to help thousands of farmers like her father. Nandini embarked on her endeavour by first taking online classes to learn about soil testing.
गांव के किसान मिट्टी की जांच किए बिना ही फसल की बुवाई कर देते थे। इसके हेतु मैंने सोचा क्यों ना आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस की मदद से कोई ऐसा टूल विकसित किया जाए जिससे किसानों को फसल पैदावार में ज़्यादा उपज हो सके। इसलिए मैंने एक टूल का निर्माण किया है जिसका नाम है मिट्टी को जानो फसल पहचानो, जो 2025 तक या 26 तक फिजिकल रूप में बन जाएगा।
Nandini says she has been seeing her father toil day and night only to get low yield of crops. That is when she thought of making farmers aware of the deficiencies in the soil.
मेरी समस्या बहुत गंभीर, मेरी बच्ची ने देखा कि मतलब खेतीबाड़ी में पापा का कुछ हो नहीं रहा है, इसलिए मेरी बच्ची ने मतलब पढ़ने में दिमाग लगाया और सोचा ऐसे कि मैं बहुत अच्छा करूं पापा के साथ।
Nandini was invited to the Digital India Week 2022 event organized by Government of India in Gandhinagar, where she interacted with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. She has started a project called Soil Ko Jano Crop Pehchano with help of her teachers in school. Bureau Report, India Today.
The young India of the future. Speaking of future, it's our image of the day. Spectacular images of cosmic cliffs and glittering landscape of star birth released by NASA, taken by the James Webb Space Telescope. Those are the images that are quite spectacular. And the glittering galaxy up close is our image tonight. You stay well, stay safe. Good night. Shubhratri. Jai Hind. Namaskar.
Light from the oldest galaxies, the oldest documented light in the history of the universe, from over 13 billion, let me say that again, 13 billion years ago.
US President Joe Biden and NASA released the clearest ever image of our young universe, reflecting the time soon after the Big Bang. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has produced the deepest and sharpest infrared image of the distant universe that has ever been seen, heralding a major event in astronomy. The image shows a patch of sky visible from the southern hemisphere on Earth. It includes a massive cluster of galaxies about 4 billion light years away. Thousands of galaxies, including the faintest objects ever observed in the infrared, have appeared in Webb's view for the first time, all captured in a relatively small area.
You know, as an international collaboration, this telescope embodies how America leads the world, not by the example of our power, but the power of our example.
Light travels at about 3 lakh kilometers per second, and that light that you are seeing on one of those little specks in the image has been traveling for over 13 billion years, claimed Bill Nelson, a NASA administrator.
That light that you are seeing on one of those little specks has been traveling for over 13 billion years. And by the way, we're going back further. because this is just the first image. They're going back about 13.5 billion years, and since we know the universe is 13.8 billion years old, we're going back almost to the beginning.
The James Webb Telescope has been in works for years. NASA led its development with the European Space Agency and the Canadian Space Agency. It was launched aboard a rocket on December 25, 2021 and is currently at a point in space known as the Sun-Earth L2 Lagrange point, approximately 1.5 million kilometers beyond Earth's orbit around the Sun.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
With every sunrise comes new beginnings, new opportunities and new stories. And that's why we're first up. While you're sleeping, we're hard at work to ensure you get the perfect news shot every morning. Get you all the updates. Our morning mission to get you news that's fresh and packed with flavor. Watch First Up every weekday morning with me, Akshata Nandagopal, right here on India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Presented by Green Lamb Laminates, Har Gustakhi Saaf. Co-powered by Buy, Sell, Rent on 99acres.com. Co-powered by, if it's important, Blue Dot it.
Shocking claims of Pakistan ISI spy masquerading as a journalist in India.
2010 में फिर हमें बुलाया गया है जब हामिद अंसारी साहब नायब सदर थे तो एक सेमिनार था बहुत बड़ा जिसमें टेररिज्म पे था.
BJP hits out at former Vice President Hamid Ansari.
तो ये पाकिस्तानी पत्रकार बताता है कि ये संवेदनशील अति गोपनीय जानकारी, उसने ये जानकारी हमीद अंसारी जी से ली और इस जानकारी को भारत के खिलाफ इस्तेमाल किया गया.
Congress jumps to Ansari's defense.
हामिद अंसारी जी से इसको लिंक करना पूर्ण रूप से गलत, तथ्यात्मक रूप से मिसलीडिंग और भ्रामक है, क्योंकि हामिद अंसारी जी ना तो उस जर्नलिस्ट को जानते ना उन्होंने उसे बुलाया.
Serious or spurious charges against former Vice President Ansari. That's our top focus on India First. The BJP has come out all guns blazing, targeting former Vice President Hamid Ansari, not just on the basis of what this Pakistani journalist has claimed, but also asking, why did Hamid Ansari share the dais with a radical Islamist organization, Popular Front of India's front organization, or according to the BJP, badmouth India at a blatantly anti-India platform, the Indian American Muslim Council. The Congress says these allegations are absolutely baseless. We debate. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Let's get started with the headlines on India First.